everybody, welcome to this beautiful practice of yin. So this is the second time around that I've recorded this because having done 45-minute class earlier, I realised that I hadn't pressed record. So please, I hope that this records and I'm able to deliver this class to you. We are going to start off in a comfortable seated position. Feel free to use a cushion underneath your bottom, and the other alternative is that you can sit propped up against the wall for support if you've got any lower back issues. Don't feel that you've got to fold your legs in like this. You can be kneeling, you can be stretched with your you can be sat with your legs stretched out in front of you. The main thing is, as we're seated, and I'll show you from here, there can sometimes be this kind of action going on. So if you think of your pelvis as a bowl and you want to empty the contents out, so you want to tilt the pelvic bowl forwards. And that's why the cushion underneath the bottom really does help. All right, let's set the scene. Let's come into our practice, come into our body. Feel a little tone through the tummy. Close your eyes, turn the palms of the hands down. And we'll take this time together to establish our breath. Breathing in and out through the nose. I'm using today in this practice, which to be honest with you I use in most of my practice, is called Ujjayi breath. And this is a Sanskrit word for victorious breath. And essentially what we're doing is constricting the back of our throats so that we can control the flowing breath when it comes in and out. If my mouth were open, it would sound like this on the in-breath. Like I'm taking a gasp of breath in and then on the exhalation, like I'm steaming up a window or a mirror with my breath. I'm using that constriction now, but with my mouth closed, and it still creates a soft and a sibilant sound. You know those large shells? Imagine that you've got a shell and you're holding it up to your ear. The breath would sound like that. However, if you're not able to make the breath sound like that, don't worry. Just be aware of your breath. Make it your priority to breathe a little bit more deeply and freely into your body. Sometimes it takes us a length of time to calm and settle the mind. We're now being physically still, and hopefully this allows the mind to find a sense of stillness. It's not uncommon when we come to our practice that the mind then wants to wander off and engage in thoughts and stories. Be aware of when that happens and just bring your attention back to your breath whenever this is possible. Last couple of breaths. Open your eyes and adjust to the light that's in the room. And we'll come into our first forward fold. This is going to be a practice centered around folding forwards. I'll show you face forwards and I'm also going to show you from the side. Stretching your legs out in front of you and take a bend in your right leg. I'm going to mirror you to begin with. You can still be sat underneath a cushion. You can also use a cushion underneath your thigh bone, particularly if it's raised. I'd encourage you to do this. Relax the foot and then folding forwards. It may be that you're more further up in your practice and you're like this. Shoulders relaxed, head relaxes. I'm going to come to this side and make sure that I'm bending my right leg now so that I'm with you. I've got a little timer, so I'm going to start the timer. And it's the crease of the hip that I'm folding forwards from. Time to establish the breath. Again, in every single pose. One of the principles of the practice of yin is finding your edge. We never want to experience pain in anything that we're doing in our workouts, whether that's our fitness workouts, whether that's the other styles of yoga. But it is not uncommon to feel discomfort, to feel challenged, to feel stretched, to feel sensations that are unpleasant. Use your breath to pacify you. And I guess that's one of the many benefits of the practice of yoga is we get to become intimate with our body. And I mean that in the sense that we can better distinguish between pain and discomfort. But by coming into this practice, we create a space, we create an opportunity to actually listen to the sensations, to feel the physical sensations that are occurring within our body. If you think about most conventional lifestyles, even during this lockdown, we are busy, right? Whether you are at home and you're tutoring your family, your children, not your husband, or wife, but your children, or whether you are working from home, whether you are just spending this time to, keep yourself busy. We never really give ourselves, we almost feel it's an indulgence to just be still and feel what's happening within our physical body. But sensations are messages, they're signals, they're signs. They're also our teachers. They can teach us a lot about our body. Just going to keep us here for another 30 more seconds. then slowly coming up. It's not uncommon either to feel really ancient, old and decrepit as you come out of these poses. It's completely normal to feel like that. Let's just switch it over. And don't assume that because you are able to get so far in the pose on one side that it's going to be the same on the other, because we're not symmetrical. All right, let's stop the timer, reset, and off we go again. So here's a really good, a personal example of mine of disconnecting with my own body. For a lot of my life, I've lived on my own, and recently I'm now sharing a home with two beautiful housemates, and we make it a point to have dinner in the evening together, and we sit at a table. And every night the girls will always say, "I feel really full now." And I'm like, "What? Really? I don't feel full." And I guess I'm literally like must have the stomach of a pig that just, or any other animal like a dog that never seems to know when they're hungry. But what I would suggest, what I have acknowledged is, to myself, is that I've disconnected with that area of my body. I'm completely unaware as to when I feel full. And this over the years has caused me so much pain, and not physical pain, emotional pain, because I've put on weight, because I've eaten more, because I haven't felt that sensation in my body that has said, "Yo dude, you've eaten too much now, stop." So this is one example, and I'm sure there are many examples out there when we can think of moments in our life when it's got to the point where we've literally been crying out in pain, but yet when we look back we think, there probably was warning signs. I probably did feel niggles. Time check. Yeah, so just over 1 minute. And stillness, of course, is the other principle of the practice of yin. It is okay in the initial stages when we come into a pose to find and feel your way. But what you don't want to do is then spend the remainder of the pose moving around, fidgeting. And this can be hard for us, right? Because it's like that monkey mind telling us, I'm uncomfortable here, maybe if I just move this and stretch this and adjust this. But we're constantly giving in to our urges, constantly giving in to that monkey mind. And suddenly there's no longer this self-mastery. We are no longer in control. This monkey mind is controlling us. And it's constantly changing its demands. It becomes like a dictator. Okay, you're already coming back up. Taking your hands behind you with your knees bent, feet on the floor, and just moving your legs from one side of your yoga mat to the other. Cool. I feel some little clicks in my back as I'm doing this. happening between our poses it's just as important as the poses themselves. We're dealing with stagnant energy that's been laying dormant for some time, and yeah, now things are starting to shift and move, and in order to release that negative energy, we also need to move a little bit. Now I'm going to come down all the way onto our backs, using the strength of the core. Hopefully my microphone will still work from here. Let's just get into it. That's it. Knees bent. Taking a bend in your right leg, your ankle bone. We must make sure that the ankle bone is flexed. In that way, we know that we're going to protect the knee. I can stay here and just push my thigh away, or I could do what's called threading the needle and going through the center to lift off my supporting thigh. I'm just going to reset the timer so that we're holding it for equal length of time on both sides. Trying to establish our breath again. And observing from one pose to the next whether the breath changes. Where are the sensations now? I know that for me, in this particular pose, I'm feeling it more on the inside of my thigh and the crease of my hip, maybe even my buttock. The other principle of the practice of yin is time. Throughout a lot of other classes, other styles of yoga, we work with muscles. With this style of yoga, we work with fascia, a connective sheath that surrounds every muscle within our body. And in order for the connective sheath to take up the strain, we need to hold these poses for longer. This sheath is incredibly tough and fibrous, and it gives us that sense of lightness and ease within our body. The health of our fascia is dependent upon so many things. We're more than halfway now. It's dependent on how much water we drink, how much activity we have, how much we actually properly stretch out our body. So whether you are lead a sedentary lifestyle, maybe you're incredibly busy and you sit at a desk a lot of the time, or whether you are active, walking, running, cycling, or maybe you're doing workouts at home, unless you give your body the time to take the muscles at least back to their original length, then they're going to get used to having that contraction. They're going to be used to contracting and firing up, but we're not teaching them how to switch off. Always scares me. There's a spray in the room that goes off every 10 minutes, it feels like. But the noise certainly scares me. It's anyway, time to come back to the breath. And
how about that for timing? 4 minutes exactly. Release. Take your feet to the floor. Cactus your arms. This means your arms are at right angles either side, and just move your knees from one side of your mat to the other. Oh. Bending your knees, feet into the floor, push your lower back, and we're doing it on the left side now. It's the left ankle bone that goes across to the right thigh bone. Either push away or go through the center and pulling that supporting leg towards you. Establish your breath. The breath is such an integral part of, in my opinion, any of the practices, whether it's meditation or yoga. It is the key that literally unlocks all the benefits for our practice. Quite often in our everyday lifestyle and living, it's involuntary. We don't have to think about breathing. We know that if we weren't breathing, we wouldn't be living, so we must be doing something right. But very much like how we get used to constricting and contracting the muscles for our workouts, we get used to breathing shallow and just into the chest. We're not using our breathing apparatus to its full capacity. And anything that you don't use, you lose. But also, by not breathing fully, we are in the sympathetic side of our central nervous system. And what this does is tells us that we are in a state of alert, fight or flight. And this puts tremendous amount of stress on all the organs, on all the systems within the body. We're just more than halfway. So by coming into a practice such as this and changing the style in which we're breathing, we can tap into the parasympathetic side of our central nervous system. And this tells us physically, our body, that we can rest, that we can digest the food, the nutrients, the water that we're taking on board. But also emotionally, we are better able to digest information, receiving, taking on board things when we are in this side of our nervous system. Less than 1 minute. Start to deepen the breath. And when you're ready, feet back to the floor, cactus the arms, and move your legs from side to side. Time to roll over onto one side and coming back up. One of my favourite poses next is, well, I'll give you two options. We're going to come into puppy pose, which is very similar to the pose of a child. Coming onto all fours, knees underneath your hips. We keep the hips over the knees in this pose, and we walk the hands forwards. So the chest comes down to the floor. For some of you it might. For me, it's my chin that comes down to the floor. Or my head, actually, that would be better. My head coming down to the floor. Just going to set the timer. And I'm still keeping my hips over my knees, and I'm feeling a deep openness in my armpits, in my shoulders, and chest, and upper back. Now, if this is too powerful for you, bring your palms together. Or push all the way back into pose of a child. I hope you can hear me okay with all this hair everywhere. There's so many people that I wish, I'm not a doctor, and I try and prescribe to them yin. I'm like, oh my God, it's so beneficial. I just wish that you would take a few moments out of your life to practice this. But of course, I know how tough it is in life to fit in everything. But this is your physical body, right? We've only got one vessel that we're going to have throughout our lifetime. So in this lifetime you're going to be in this body, so it's important that you look after it. Got a good friend of mine who absolutely love to bits, and I hope that actually he takes time out of his life to come and do this practice, because I know that he's, I don't know if this is the right role that I'm describing. I would describe him as a long distance trucker or lorry driver, so very much working in the front line. We need people like him, and obviously being sat driving a lot of the time in a fixed position, his muscles have got used to holding him in that position, so very tight and tense. And I know that he's spent a lot of his life in pain because of this, and has had to have different, I don't know if he's actually had any operations, but he's certainly had different issues with regards to his hips. And we're all kind of, what's the word that I'm looking for? We all kind of feel the effects of our jobs, whether it's a physically demanding job, or whether it's not so physically demanding, but it still has a detrimental impact on our health. Everything we do in life has a consequence. All right, now we're going to move back into child's pose, all the way into child's pose for the last couple of minutes.